HR specialists. What is the wildest reason you have fired an employee from your company? One guy I worked with was fired for constantly sleeping 6 hours during his night shifts. In the end, it turned out that he was juggling 3 full-time jobs. We worked at a hardware store. He used materials from the store to construct a platform above the carpet, cutting machine, and set up an entire sleeping corner there, where he slept for almost a year before being caught on camera while climbing up. We all simply thought he was just terrible at his work and doing nothing. In reality, he is my secret hero. A woman performed blowjobs for money during lunch breaks. As soon as something was mentioned about her lunches, she immediately asked if she could simply quit and leave right now. We, of course, allowed it. Lol. I worked at an amusement park as a teenager, and one guy hired to work at prize booths regularly exchanged big prizes for blowjobs. He would go on break, receive the service. Then the woman would approach, and he would pretend she had won. Management noticed that he was giving away prizes for free. Everyone thought he was flirting that way, but he proudly declared that he was exchanging them for blowjobs. The average age of the women was 30 plus, and a giant plush bear cost $7 wholesale. One girl yelled at me after I fired her husband. He was a manager at one of my stores. He told her that he was fired without reason because the company was losing money. I let her vent for a couple of minutes. She insulted the company, threatened lawsuits, and so on. And then I told her that he was fired for harassing a minor. A 17-year-old girl asked him to get something from a high shelf, and he responded, "Only if you suck me off." And this was in front of 4 witnesses. Her face immediately contorted, and she just walked out without saying anything. She was about 24. He was 36. They had 3 children. This story reminded me of when I once fired an employee. Constantly handled tasks poorly, nothing interesting. Generally a normal guy, just not his job. And his girlfriend or future wife started loudly telling everyone that I fired him because she once refused to go out with me. We flirted for a couple of minutes many years ago, but I quickly realized that she was not all there mentally and bailed. She went to the human resources department with a triumphant smile on her face. I got scared. Fortunately, they knew she was lying. After I'd already left the company, I heard that she cheated on that normal guy with her director, who took her with him on every business trip. Apparently, everyone in the team knew about it, and she was given the nickname Laptop. Director is flying to Tucson tomorrow? Yes, he is taking the laptop with him. Well, of course. I think someone from that pair was eventually fired or quietly pushed out. I had to fire one guy from the production line. It was a small, jerky factory, and most manual packers were women. I hired this guy. He seemed not crazy, unlike many others, and the first week, everything was normal. In the second week, he did not like that during work on the line. You could not sit down until break. Then he started telling women on the line that he knew how to kill and skin a person, and that in this small town, no one would even remember them. During the break, all the women ran into my office, and I had to call the police even before I called him to the manager. As soon as this guy walked in, he said, "I knew those bitches would snitch." The factory mostly employs women. I looked at the manager. She nodded, and I told him that we were firing him for making frightening statements and that he was also no longer allowed on the company premises. The police officer escorted him to his car, and that was the last time we saw him. One guy simultaneously ran a business on the side, making adult calendars. He was caught because our system administrators noticed that his computer was consuming some insane amount of traffic. He was downloading astronomical volumes of porn. I fired him on the spot and ordered him escorted out of the building. Then I told my secretary to gather his things and clear his desk. She leaves my office, heads to his cubicle, returns in 30 seconds, and says, "Number, the dumbest reason of all." A lazy dude from the sales department parked in a disabled spot when he arrived at a client's place. Got a ticket, tried to force the client's company to pay it. Then he even asked if the fine could be included in travel expenses. This story reached the CEO. Of course, I am not from human resources. But one dude was fired for terrible work. He had just been issued a new work laptop that was lying on his desk. So, this genius asked a woman who still worked there to come to the office the next day on Saturday and swap the new company laptop for his old one. There were surveillance cameras in the building lobby, and to get into the elevator and the office itself, you had to swipe an access card. On Monday, the IT guys went to take the laptop and immediately realized it was not the one that should be there. They remembered that the new laptop was on the desk on Friday after the firing. It took 3 minutes to put it all together. So this dumbass not only got fired for being useless, but also screwed over his friend. She was fired for laptop theft. And yes, he was forced to return the laptop. I am not from human resources, but once I got a woman fired for trying to poison me. Found out about it because she drew pictures of poisoning me and my colleagues. There were other drawings where she stabs me with a knife, drugs me permanently, and robs me. The finale? She signed and dated every drawing. I had known this woman for 20 years. I did not expect this from her. This happened in 2014. I worked at a call center in San Diego. Several new temporary employees had just completed mandatory 2-week training and started their first full workday. The group was diverse, and there was one guy about 24 years old with no work experience whatsoever. The call center was an open space without cubicles. One female employee who sat next to this guy asked management to move her. She did not name a specific reason, just wanted a different seat. She was moved near me. We quickly became friends. Soon, I quit and found a better job. And then one morning she calls me, choking with laughter. Turns out, that guy was arrested right at his workplace, literally 10 minutes after the start of his shift. It turned out that the IT guys had long been tracking how much porn he watched from work, computers, gigabytes of traffic, and yes, he even jerked off a couple of times right at work. One person got drunk and brought some woman to spy in the lobby, ended up passing out, and both were found naked and asleep in the morning. I work in human resources and could write a whole book about this, but there are 2 cases that especially stood out. First firing case for harassment. A male employee, standing next to another man, beckoned a female employee over to him with a gesture. When she approached, he announced to the whole office, "Wow, if you came to me at the wave of one finger, imagine what I can do with 2. The second case happened when the only cash register at the location malfunctioned. One employee arbitrarily took a hammer and started furiously smashing the cash register until he opened it, completely breaking the mechanism, and then took all the money out of it. All of this was recorded by the camera. When he was asked what the hell he did, he said, "I thought if I opened it, I could take the money for myself." No one told him anything like that. I am not from human resources, but this is an infamous story from my first job at a call center. One of the human resources supervisors got completely drunk at a corporate party. He had alcohol problems, started acting up and loudly hitting on another supervisor's wife. That guy, by the way, was his friend, a huge and strong man. So he simply put him in a soft bear hug to escort him out of the room and avoid extra shame. The drunk supervisor twisted free, crawled under a long snack table on all 4s, barking like a dog, then crawled out on the other side and bit one of the human resources specialists on the leg. He was fired. A couple of years later, this supervisor got a job at a company where I was already working. When he realized I was from the same old company, he almost shat himself on the spot and begged me not to tell anyone what happened back then. To his credit, he really quit alcohol and got his act together. I worked as a senior camp counselor years ago. 2 counselors, an 18-year-old girl and a 19-year-old guy who lived at the camp and slept in tents with the kids, hooked up. This was strictly forbidden on camp territory. There were at least 5 places where they could have done it unnoticed. But for some reason, they decided that it was a great idea to do it right in the tent while 5 to 6-year-old children slept nearby. A little girl woke up, saw them, and ran away screaming. She thought the guy was choking the counselor. In the middle of the night, we all rushed out of the tents because of the child's scream and saw the girl running. The half-naked counselor with bare breasts was trying to calm her down, and the male counselor was running after her, yelling at them to shut up. They were fired on the spot. I had to make up some story to calm the poor child, and in the morning, I had to deal with her justifiably furious mother. Fired one guy for not showing up to work for 2 or 3 days in a row. When he finally came as if nothing had happened, I asked what happened, and he completely calmly answered, "I accidentally overdid it with downers and passed out for 2 days." Fired another for not returning from a day off that I gave him. Did not answer calls. No one knew where he was. I had already started to worry. Called his emergency contacts. Turned out he was not on vacation, but in a rehab center. He had been gone for about 2 weeks before I realized what was happening. I directly said that if he had simply explained what happened, he would still have his job. But now, let it be a lesson. Rest in peace, dude. My buddy fired a woman who had worked for him for over 10 years because she was drinking vanilla extract by the liter. For years, he was doing inventory. It was a popular cafe bakery, and he realized that vanilla usage exceeded the norm by about 500%. Check the cameras. She was sipping vanilla all day. He also fired 2 others who had been running a scheme for years. 2 friends, one worked days, the other nights. The morning guy came in, clocked in, and when leaving, did not clock himself out, but clocked the other guy in. That guy arrived 2 hours later, clocked the first guy out as if he had just left, and did not clock himself in, only clocked out at the end of the shift. As a result, each of them got 2 extra hours of pay per day, every day, for 4 or 5 years straight. And the honorable place. A dude who was not fired because his insane story turned out to be true. He came to his shift 7 hours late and said he had been locked in a cave. It turned out he and a friend really got stuck in a cave, and they would have stayed there overnight if an employee, it was a tourist area, had not returned for a forgotten item. The conveyor line stopped because employees organized a twerking tournament. 6 people were dancing. A 7th was the judge. All of this lasted 20 minutes. All 6 were fired. Maybe they would have gotten away with it if they had not been twerking right under the surveillance camera. They were shocked that you could even get fired for such a thing. I am not from human resources and no longer work at that company, but one woman was fired after accusing another employee of stealing her pills. She posted about it on Facebook and tagged the store manager there. A whole investigation began. The kicker was that she had a habit of forgetting that she had already taken her medication. When the manager went to investigate, he found several pills that had fallen out of her bag under the lockers. So, first, he was furious because she publicly slandered someone like that. And second, because the cleaner had not cleaned under the lockers. She was escorted off the premises by security guards. They got involved precisely because of the publicity of the accusations. Oh, yes, I actually have a story for such an occasion. I used to work at a magazine publisher. Was quite close friends with the editor of a health magazine. She was really great at her job and overall a very kind woman. I was shocked when one day I came to work and found out she had been fired. It turned out that in the dark corners of our library archive room, she was regularly having sex with a graphic designer. And that is not all. She was fired the day after a group of us returned from out-of-state leave, where we had attended her wedding to another man. She is still married to him, and they have 2 children. I know he is aware. But we have not spoken since then. I only occasionally see some of her social media posts. About 6 or 7 people from the office went to that wedding, and honestly, after we found out why she was fired, everyone had severe moral dissonance. As for how it was uncovered, as far as I know, she told colleagues what she was doing directly via the work messenger. I could not believe that anyone could be so stupid as to write about such things in the corporate chat. It was like she wanted to get caught herself. I barely interacted with that designer. Quiet, did his job. He was also fired. A guy attacked another employee in the break room for taking the last soda. After that, he was absolutely calm and said, "I understand why I am being fired. I just want to officially state why I had to choke him." We said that was not necessary and escorted him out of the building. One guy received the Employee of the Year title. I, as the human resources representative, was supposed to go with him to the conference where he and other winners were honored. 2 weeks before the trip, he disappeared, which was completely unlike him. We tried to contact him in every possible way, called the police for a wellness check, called the emergency contact, got cursed at and hung up on. Nothing. I even started checking the news in case a body matching his description had been found. Looked for everything I could. In the end, I decided to check the jail database. Found him, sitting there for second-degree rape. This was one of those cases where you think, no way, it cannot be him. Calm, gentle, and polite guy. Horrible. I am a meat department supervisor. We had to fire the evening cashier and a butcher because they stole a bottle of vodka from our liquor department, drank it together, had a water fight using our industrial hose and the cleaning solution hose, smashed $5,000 worth of electronics during this game, realized they were soaked through and decided to strip down to their underwear, throwing butcher coats over top to hide it. Shoved their wet clothes into the industrial oven to dry, tried to finish their shift completely drunk in just underwear and coats. All of this happened from 7 to 9 p.m. while the store was open, and customers and other employees witnessed it all. I work at a store. I trained a new employee because I had a doctor's appointment and needed to leave for about an hour. Management was aware, non-management was not. Returned, saw that I missed a call from work, and clocked back in. I was immediately called by the head cashier and asked where I had been. I explained everything. Fortunately, got off without a write-up. But the new employee also disappeared somewhere, and the whole store, which was not small, was left without carts. And customers were interrupting us, saying they could not get into the parking lot. We, the cashier and I, went out and saw our newbie dragging all the carts simultaneously, and a bunch of lumber carts too. This store did not have an automatic cart pusher, so he was dragging everything manually and, of course, blocked the main entrance. Me. What the fuck are you doing? Him. Doing my job? Dragging them all at once? But dragging them one by one is a waste of time. Me. And why are you not doing unloads? Him. I saw merchandise, but decided they would manage without me. Me. That is not your decision. Him. Well then, let them call me only for real unloads. Fired on the spot. I am not from human resources, but once they sent a training video from a partner company we had a contract with regarding their new Instagram features. The video was recorded by our account manager, showing how to use the new features. At some point, she opened the photo gallery on her iPhone to upload a picture, and at that moment, 9 recent photos from her phone flashed on the screen, and these were extremely explicit 18+ selfies, with toys, close-ups, and other fun stuff. We, of course, reported it immediately. She was fired that same day, and we were assigned a new manager. I was an experienced senior employee at one of my past jobs. New guys came, and I was asked to let one of them observe my work. No problem. We used a headset splitter so he could listen to my calls at the service desk. On the first or second day, he outright said he needed an advance for rent because he had just started and would not get paid for the next 2 weeks. Had not made the pay cycle. He worked for about 3 days and vanished. Said he was sick, and I thought, damn, bad timing. On Monday, he reappeared but could barely walk, clearly suffering with every step. Turned out his appendix had burst, and he was rushed to the hospital at the last moment. I asked, should you not be at home resting? And he said, yes, but I am on probation, and sick leave is unpaid. While he was in the hospital, his girlfriend dumped him and cleaned out his apartment. In short, total chaos for him. A day or two passes. Everything seems stable. Thursday morning, he shows up at work with such a pleased face as if he had just won the jackpot. I say to him, well, you are positively glowing today. He says, yeah, want a secret? I say, well, depends what it is. He pulls out the Sunday edition of the Ottawa Sunday, a fairly large newspaper in Ottawa, at least it used to be. Opens to page 7, and there is his face under the headline, Tidy Bank Robbed. A direct screenshot from the camera, a close-up of his face, excellent quality, everything clear. Caption, suspect pictured above, and all that. I thought to myself, well shit, I will have to tell someone, at least by lunch. Turned out I did not have to. He blabbed to Olga, whom he smoked with. She immediately went to our manager and told him everything. About 20 minutes later, 2 cops approached my workstation, arrested him, asked me a couple of questions, nothing serious, and he still had that newspaper in his hands. A month later, he emailed me. He was, of course, fired. He got probation because it was his first offense. He had no weapon, and he had just formed a finger gun in his jacket pocket. The money, by the way, was never found. He spent it all on debts, and the bank had insurance. Total trash. I was a manager with a bunch of subordinates and had to handle a ton of human resources issues. In the 2010s, I was a call center manager and had employees in remote offices. Once I traveled to one of them to fire an employee who had falsified hundreds of call records by just sitting at her desk and doing nothing. When I arrived, the office manager pulled me aside and told me that this employee had gotten into a fight with a customer right in the middle of the office in front of everyone the day before. It turned out the customer's daughter had broken up with our employee's son, and there were cheating rumors. If I had not come to fire her for fraud, that scene alone would have been enough. She had had warnings before too. Worse. The office manager said that after that argument, she left the office, got in her car, and started stalking until the customer came out. When she came out, the employee jumped out, grabbed her by the arm, pinned her against the brick wall of the office, and said that if she ever spoke to her son again, she would kill her. And all of this happened literally 24 hours before my arrival. The office manager learned about it only 10 minutes before I walked in. That customer had called him and asked if she could get the camera footage because she was considering filing a report. As far as I know, she ultimately did not do it. 2 years later, that former employee wrote to me on Facebook after seeing me post a job opening and asked if she was listed as eligible for rehire. I replied that I would love to have balls as steel as hers to even dare to ask such a stupid question and blocked her. One guy I had almost started working with was going through orientation training. The kid turned out to be the son of the chief financial officer. There was a pretty 20-year-old blonde in the group, and during the lunch break, he approached her and said, well, how about you just suck me off right now? We both know it is going to happen anyway. 20 minutes later, his own father escorted him out of the building. This happened over 20 years ago in the corporate office. We had one manager who gained a reputation as a disgusting guy. There were rumors about harassment and extramarital affairs. Once a young intern from a local school came to us, a 17-year-old girl who was about to turn 18. This guy immediately showed excessive interest in her. One day, he led her into a small windowless meeting room, and suddenly the whole office heard a loud scream. An employee passing by flung the door open and saw the manager with his penis out, frantically trying to zip up his pants. The guy immediately led the intern out of the room, after which complete chaos began. In the end, the creep was arrested, fired, and given jail time for indecent exposure to a minor. One employee, together with his wife at an off-site corporate event, propositioned a colleague for a threesome. She refused, but they continued via messages and HipChat. After her complaint to Human Resources, both were fired, and oddly enough, they both felt like victims. Thanks for watching this video to the end. Write in the comments if you have witnessed similar cases at your work or maybe with your friends. Also watch our previous video, which you will see right here.